You remember the Slater Walker collapse then?
I do indeed, yes.
What are the similarities to that to where we are today?
Well, it's very interesting because the similarities then were...
We're talking 1974 here for people who aren't familiar with it.
Well, in the very early 70s, we had the Conservatives were elected, I think, in about May 1970. And funnily enough, my uncle was Alasdair Macleod, and he was Chancellor of the Exchequer. Unfortunately, he died in office some 6 weeks after the election, and Anthony Barber, Tony Barber, then became Chancellor. And he presided over the issuance of a lot of money. Money supply was expanded rapidly to try and get the economy going, and this was known as the Barber boom. The stock market had a good run up on the back of this to around about the middle of 1972. That then faded, and there were strains beginning to show, if you like, in that aspect of the financial system. Then there was a property boom, which actually culminated in the secondary banking crisis of 1973. It was October 1973. And the shares of property companies fell to roughly a tenth of what they were in a matter of weeks. That was a real crisis. And the similarities, but on a longer time scale, to what we have seen recently, we had the peak in the markets, which was irrational exuberation, if you like, in the year 2000. We had a bear market where broadly stocks halved. We've had some sort of recovery, along with property prices, asset prices generally, being fueled by this common factor between the 1970s and now, and that is the production of money and credit in huge, huge quantities. And now we've got the property, the property thing peaked in 2007 with the credit crunch, and now it's on its way down. And I just look back on the relationship between 72 and 74. I know it's a bit more strung out this time, but it's a lot bigger than it was. And so it's actually quite dangerous.
Yeah, I recall those years very, very well, and specifically how quickly the collapse occurred back when the boom in housing eventually did fall apart. Is it strung out more this time because government involvement is trying to delay the inevitable, whereas back then there was less government involvement and the market just took care and purged the weak links in the chain and then started rebuilding from a new base?
I think that's certainly true that government have put more mechanisms in place to delay the natural corrections that markets should go through, correcting the excesses, if you like, which are entirely as a result of the printing of money and credit. It's nothing else, it is that. And the answer to these things, as far as government is concerned, is yet more money and more credit. All they're doing is they're deferring a natural correction in the market, and the correction in the market that is required when they can delay it no longer is just getting so large that nobody actually dare face up to it now.
Well, governments seem to think that they can defer the inevitable correction forever, but obviously you don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that, and I would say that in history, I know that you're an avid reader of financial history, all governments think exactly that way. They actually think that they can control things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't